Hey everybody, DylonND here. I just wanted to say that Ready or Not's a very different game from games I usually review, so keep in mind it has some very intense adult themes and is more violent. So, on that note, if that's not your cup of tea, go ahead and skip this one, but if you're comfortable with that, strap in. Knock knock. Who's there? Why, it's the police industrial complex, baby. And we're C2ing for you. Ready or not. Get down on the ground. It's a game that I'm not reviewing at gunpoint. I'm not leaving this basement until I do. Or not. I'm not holding a big black gun and its long barrel. Are you ready for it or not? This trigger finger is getting heavy. I didn't misallocate $8 million of city funds for my MCX to not have an aftermarket trigger that decreases the pull weight by 0.03%. So you know what that means. I might just slip and TLDR time. Ready or Not is ready, but maybe not. They actually fully released it, just like Arma 3, and it's a little rough around the edges. It's a child of that angry cop's red light addiction, but she doesn't really talk to daddy anymore due to anger issues. SWAT 5, Ready or Not, truly is a modern version of SWAT 4. It takes steps forward in many ways and back in a few, but Void Interactive is hard at work on the game, so I think some of the problems I have, they'll fix. And I know I say that a lot, but if you didn't know, they literally hired the guy that made the best SWAT 4 mod in the universe, Elite Force, which added a ton of modern features to that game. During the Great Rona, I dusted off a lot of old games on my shelf, SWAT 4 being one of them, and played the campaign. It's an incredible game in its own right, so far darn ahead of its industrial complexes, but once you play Not or Ready, it's hard to go back. Just like SWAT 4, the core of the gameplay is room breaching, figuring out friend or foe, and trying to contain your friend with ADHD to not commit second-degree murder. But hey, the city commissioner has our back. And if he doesn't, the police union might just let things go for a few days. Before I get ahead of myself, Void has lovingly crafted a SWAT-style campaign for modern times, with a lot of brave close-to-home missions that fit the economic collapse of America. It's a sad reality, but the elephant in the spectrum room nonetheless. Between the surreal terrorist club shooting, the ring that spans several missions, a streamer, human trafficking, and a weirdo lady cult chopping off hardware, the campaign has a bit of everything, or not.
All the other kids with the pumped up kicks better run, baby, run fast.
Anyway, I'm going to raise Catholic hell for that one. It's actually depressing when you make it to the end of the campaign, because you want more. I hope us early adopters get access to DLC or a big fat mission pack for free, because my SWAT 5 hankering is insatiable. Commander mode is the main Cracker Barrel of Ready or Not. You play each mission in order and have to pass with a certain score. The minigame being managing your incredibly depressed squad that the therapist keeps staging interventions because Reyes accidentally ventilated grandma. No, Reyes, I didn't give you a beanbag shotty for S rank. I gave you Italy's finest killing machine, loaded with triple-aught buck, not the John Deere kind. Plus, you know, as the manager of our SWAT team, I think I want to circle back to the fact that the therapist is a little pricey. I think we could just hire some guy that never was in the military but pretends to be, and reminds us we're all killers, and not servants of the public. You know, omni-channel it, because frankly, they need to man up. You know, man up, bootstrap, mug root beer. This is a grim undertone throughout the whole campaign about the city going to hell, which I think is based on Los Angeles.
Looks like we're in New York.
This actually looks like Coney Island. No, this is LA. Look at the palm trees. You know, LA isn't that bad. Plus, you can lane split. My main critique with the campaign is it's up to the player to connect the story dots. It would be nice to have some dedicated characters or debriefs, which this game doesn't have. The campaign is great, but I think some sort of personal connection to the characters in the campaign would go a long way. And spoiler alert, the line in the last mission where you find a creative woman being trafficked and the big guy CIA on the radio just says, "Shut it, bro." It's not enough. It feels like they were going to add a more substantial story beat, but didn't really have time for it. My hope is they can maybe integrate that bigger brother government into the story. Maybe you can decide to do something about that, creative people, instead of just awkwardly shutting the door. And yes, I know this comes from a person who made an Arma 3 campaign that's mostly linear-driven story events. Gameplay-wise, this is where the potted plant taxes went. Ready or Not lives in a society, and my God, God is good. A good metaphor for the gameplay is like a C2 charge to a door. It's explosive. When you first play a mission, it's a mysterious, pulse-pounding 15 minutes where your heart is a rock and squishy as a scrub daddy. And oh, look, you got an F because Reyes shot grandma again.
There's no room
You had a
for
knife.
bravado like that.
No, really. The gunplay, the levels, the ability to cant your sights, my God, it's like Ender's Game, just flipping the battlefield upside down. You can really tell this was a passion project, made by passionate people. I really do want them to misallocate a small city in California's funds to keep making this game. I turkey screeched several times at enemies who got the jump on me. Goosebumps when the mission felt too real. Speaking of, it's hard to go back to Tarky because Ready or Not feels like the future. The biggest part of the 1.0 update was the redesign of the squad AI. I think it's a fantastic upgrade, and ordering them around has never been simpler. You can even have them check doors, peek, slide, and just like SWAT 4, you can queue actions so you can do some fantastical, synchronizical, tactical, workle, but still funnel and improvisal. Unlike Rogue Spearall's ridiculous mission planning system all, it's a hard feat to accomplish all. But my jaw dropped when I gave a riot shield to a member of the team, and he requested one of his guys to switch so he could go in first. It put a big smile on my face. And for the AI, they'll actually search rooms really well and stack up. I often found them in spaces I didn't even check. And the presentation is fantastic. And trust me, they're much more reliable than any $5 Patreon subscriber. Speaking of, did you know I had a Spreadshop that we may have rated in Ready or Not? It's where the DylonND t-shirts get made. Now you can even grab yourself a ghost hoodie from the evidence pile. Go ahead, no one's looking. You might need to plan it on someone later anyway, so when we go steal the Anhydrous, none will be the wiser. Another feature I really like is you can hold your mag out and check it as long as you like. It's a post-30-year-old's tactical dream, besides running over illegal immigrants in his Bluetooth drive shaft RAM that's misfiring on cylinder 7. Graphics are very, very good in Ready or Not 5. Even though my junkyard dog is from 2013 and runs on DDR3, I can play just fine on DirectX 12. Just give it some time to load in the beginning and make sure you reduce the FPS of the picture-in-picture because that absolutely murdered my frames. Like I was wearing a hoodie and had a candy bar in my pocket. That recently divorced cop with ED, watching with empty eyes on his phone, sucks and spit on the side of his cheek. He sees a kid in a gray hoodie, wraps his calloused hands around his Glock, and steps out of the vehicle. Something I think they should over-exaggerate is the particle effects from the grenades and destruction guns and bullets. Believe it or not, there's a fantastic mod for the original Grid Race driver that does this, and the blood effects are really, really good. Here they are blurred out. What do you think? In the update, they've added the ability to crouch really low. Joe told me a guy standing in front of the vent was pointing a gun at me through a wall, so I did what any cop would do in that moment, deleted his leg. Taking pages out of SWAT 4's incredible environmental design, Ready or Not has some amazing environments. I don't even want to joke about it. It's that good. Now I'm just nitpicking, but hear me out. Rachel at the club can whip out a phone. I mean gun. She had a gun, right guys? She had a gun. This is the other part I think they can improve. You won't bother reading the briefs because Ready or Not's AI are so deadly. In SWAT 4, targets behaved more realistically to the situation. They would often run away, and only a few times did you feel like you were truly facing an elite force. I just think that maybe decreasing the accuracy or scripting enemies to flee because I really don't think some gangbangers would act like a coordinated fire team. And seriously, practically all enemies on the map are absolute aimbotters. You'll even hear them shooting through walls at you, COD 4 style. Speaking of aimbots, Joseph and I are pretty sure the last enemy on the map is an aimbot. We died to them so many times.
Double tap that guy. Oh my god, his friend.
What the hell?
We're the worst SWAT team ever.
I'm wondering if from a design perspective, why the last enemy does this. Aimbot AI are actually very common in Arma 3, which is why I had to write a script in my campaign that decreases the accuracy of certain enemies depending on how good I felt they were. You can thank AZ Coders for that. Ready or Not also has mod support. Yeehaw, brother! But the caveat is I don't like mod.io, and I wish they used the Steam Workshop. It's just better, and much more secure. I hate that mod.io constantly has to reboot the game too instead of just plugging mods into a loader. Anyways, that's my review of Not Already 5. It's an amazing experience, and I know Void will continue to improve it, and it's an absolute tasty treat to behold, and a worthy successor of SWAT. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to take a trip to the evidence room. Rachel's gun needs to be in there before the district attorney shows up. Hey you, wanna watch some machinima? I've got some stuff, including a sim series called Losers, and one made in Operation Flashpoint called Wasteland. I implore you to go check them out, brother. Also, if you like my reviews, a good friend of mine, Anthony, wrote a whole novel. If you like spooky stuff and trees, then you should check it out, his novel. Link below, go check it out. It's really good. Also, thank you so much. Even as a busy dad, getting 500 more subscribers is crazy. It's really great. Thank you all so much. Also, thank you to everyone that tuned in on my live stream. That was really sweet. I plan to have more in the future. And a little sneaky peeky. Yeehaw, Arthur, I've got lumbago plan liability agreements. Lumbago plan Arthur, you gotta trust my lumbago liability plan agreement. Insert rat metaphor here.